Welcome back to The Explainer. So today is actually a pretty huge milestone for us. We're officially wrapping up our entire chemistry arc, and man, we're going out with a bang. We've got this deeply intriguing topic today that perfectly bridges the gap between everyday stuff you see in your kitchen and the totally invisible, kind of mind-bending rules of physical chemistry. I mean, have you ever just looked at a basic bottle of vinegar in your pantry and wondered about the hidden chemical dynamics splashing around in there? Well, it turns out there's way more going on in that bottle than just, making a good salad dressing. So let's just dive right into it. Let's unpack Ostwald's dilution law and the famous vinegar paradox. Okay, here's a truly counterintuitive macro-level paradox for you. Why does diluted vinegar conduct electricity better than concentrated vinegar? Take a second to really think about that one. Usually, common sense tells us that a stronger, more concentrated solution is going to have a much more pronounced effect, right? I mean, if you want a sweeter cup of coffee, you add more sugar, not more water. If you want brighter paint, you use less thinner. But when it comes to vinegar, which contains a weak acid, it actually conducts electricity noticeably better when it's heavily diluted with water. It feels completely backwards. Why on earth would watering something down make it more electrically active? Well, the answer to our mystery is something called Ostwald's dilution law. And it states that for a weak electrolyte, the degree of dissociation increases as the solution becomes more dilute. Now, this isn't just some casual, add some water, get a bit more electricity rule of thumb. Not at all. It actually dictates a very precise mathematical relationship between the dissociation constant of the chemical and its overall concentration. Basically, to put it simply, the more water you add, the more the acid molecules break apart into charge-carrying ions. But to really grasp why adding a completely neutral substance like water fractures these molecules, we kind of need to zoom in a bit. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding what it actually means to be a weak electrolyte. See, these substances operate in a state of dynamic equilibrium. In a weak electrolyte, like the acid you'd find in vinegar, the molecules only partially break apart into ions. They don't just dissolve and stay separated like, say, standard table salt does. Imagine a totally chaotic, overcrowded dance floor where couples are constantly breaking apart to dance solo. Those are our dissociated ions carrying electrical charges, right? But then they're immediately bumping back into each other and pairing up again into neutral molecules. Because of this frantic, constant back and forth, in a really concentrated solution, most of the molecules are actually paired up, which leaves very few free-floating ions available to actually carry an electrical current. Now, when we compare concentrated acetic acid right next to dilute acetic acid, this core mechanism becomes super clear. The dilute solution actually has a noticeably higher percentage of dissociated ions per mole. In the concentrated solution, those molecules are packed in tight. They're crowded, constantly bumping into one another, so they just stay in their neutral, non-conducting paired form. It's simply too crowded on that dance floor to stay apart for very long. But when we dilute the solution by adding water, we fundamentally change their environment. We aren't just spreading the existing molecules further apart. We are actually, mathematically speaking, causing a much higher fraction of those original molecules to end up permanently separated. Let's walk through exactly how this happens, step by step, because it perfectly showcases Le Chatelier's principle in action. Okay, step 1, we dilute the solution by pouring in water. Simple enough. Step 2, because we've suddenly increased the overall volume, the immediate concentration of those free-floating ions drops. Basically, they're suddenly swimming in a much larger pool. Now, step 3 is where the system reacts. Remember, Le Chatelier's principle dictates that a system in equilibrium will always fight back against a change. It absolutely hates this sudden drop in ion concentration. So to compensate, it forces more of those intact, paired-up molecules to break apart, which naturally leads us to step 4. A significantly greater fraction of the original acid dissociates. By simply adding water, we've essentially tricked the chemical system into creating more free ions. How cool is that? And that brings us right back to our everyday mystery from the beginning. The paradox is officially resolved. More dilution equals more ions, which means better conductivity per mole. That right there is exactly why diluted vinegar conducts electricity way more effectively than concentrated vinegar. The concentrated vinegar might have a lot more total acid squeezed into the bottle, sure, but all that acid is locked up in neutral, non-conducting molecules. Diluting it unlocks that electrical potential. It shifts the equilibrium, flooding the watery solution with the charged ions needed to complete a circuit. Honestly, it's just a beautifully elegant example of how changing a simple macro-level condition forces a completely predictable micro-level chemical response. So you might be wondering, why does this matter outside of, theoretical chemistry or kitchen science. Well, Oswald's dilution law is absolutely essential for fields like analytical chemistry, environmental water testing, and industrial process control. Scientists and engineers have to accurately predict the conductivity behavior of weak acids and bases out in the real world. Because dilution directly affects a solution's ionic strength, it dictates its ability to conduct electricity and participate in further reactions. So if an environmental scientist is out there testing a river for acidic pollutants, or a chemical engineer is controlling a massive industrial vat, they have to carefully account for how dilution is actively shifting the chemical equilibrium of their samples. It's serious business. And with that perfectly balanced equation, we've hit a major milestone for the explainer today, 55. Yep, this completely wraps up our entire chemistry arc. We have successfully journeyed through 20 distinct chemistry topics together, building our knowledge all the way from our initial explorations of Le Chatelier's principle straight through to the precise mechanics of Ostwald's dilution law. And when you combine those 20 with our previous 35 physics topics, we are officially sitting at 55 out of our grand goal of 100 topics. We are more than halfway through our masterclass on the fundamental mechanics of our physical world, and honestly, it has just been an incredible journey to take with all of you. So, where do we go from here? Well, up next, we're actually leaving the physical world of atoms, forces, and molecules behind, and we are stepping into the pure structural logic of mathematics. As we kick off this brand new arc next time, I want to leave you with this little thought to ponder. What fundamental truths of our reality can the Pythagorean theorem unlock? I promise you it is much, much more than just some formula for calculating the sides of triangles you learned in high school. It's actually a foundational key to understanding the very geometry of the universe itself. So, keep that curiosity sharp, and I will see you in the next explainer.